What is good, my beautiful people? Welcome back to the channel. Long time no see. I know, it's been a minute, but today I am super excited to finally share with you a secret that I have been keeping from you guys. For the past 2 weeks, I have been secretly working with Nikon to test out 4 brand new Creative LUTs that are now available to you guys free of charge. Now, these 4 Creative LUTs have the purpose of both being used as monitoring LUTs and finishing LUTs for Nikon cameras that shoot Nlog. The list of these cameras will be somewhere on the screen, as it is an extensive list. Now, that being said, all of these LUTs were created under the close supervision of the color engineers over at Red Digital Cinema. And the goal of these LUTs is simple: to bring the essence of red color science to Nikon cameras that shoot Nlog. Now, out of the 4 LUTs, we have 1 black and white Creative LUT and 3 color Creative LUTs. The black and white Creative LUT is called Achromic. Simply put, this is a low contrast black and white LUT that is subtle but maintains the texture. It offers a sophisticated classical look to the image. Then we have the foundation for our color Creative LUTs, which is film bias. Now, film bias adds subtle warmth to the image as well as film tones. But the key about the original film bias is that it's going to render your skin tones more naturally and give you a polished and sophisticated look. From there, we have the film bias foundation, but with a bleach bypass look. Now, bleach bypass was a technique that was used in the processing of film, where you skipped the step of the bleaching process and maintained the silver iodine on the film. This led to more of that grungy look that you would see in neo-noir style of film. Lastly, we have film bias offset. Now, this is my personal favorite. Film bias offset is the same film bias foundation, adding that subtle warmth, but then also using a mixture of contrast techniques. Now, the thing that I really like about film bias in general is that when we're talking about this contrast, it's not just, how should I say, contrast with luminance, but then also color contrast. So it's giving you that nice separation with respect to luminance values, allowing your image to have more of that pop that red is known to have, but it's also giving you color contrast as well, giving you good skin tone separation, which also adds a level of production quality to your images. So as I stated in the beginning, the goal of these LUTs is to be used both as monitoring LUTs and as finishing LUTs in post-production. So Nikon really strived, when it comes to the monitoring aspect, to allow you to get a look as close to possible as your finished look on set daily. This just really allows you to know the look of your film, if you're getting exactly what you want, and how your tonality is being set up, and you can really work upon that in post-production. We're going to talk about the post-production aspect in a second, but in order to use these LUTs as monitoring LUTs, you're going to need to install them on your monitor. We're going to talk about something I think about that also later on, but I want to talk about using these as monitoring LUTs on the Ninja V in my personal experience, because there's a couple of things that I have found out. Now, a quick Google search lets you know that the Ninja V can be a little bit wonky when it comes to LUTs, and that the best mode to use when monitoring is PQ. I monitor everything in PQ. We're monitoring right now in PQ. We're not really doing anything creative, and I'm transparent. That being said, if you want to use these LUTs on the Ninja V, you're going to need to go into your setup menu, and under the HDMI settings, you're going to need to change your HDMI output to a limited signal. Otherwise, when you go and apply these LUTs into the Ninja V, it's going to come out contrasty. Your highlights are going to be blown out and your blacks are going to be clipped, and it just looks a mess, and it's not going to look anything like it does on the computer. When you change this, you're getting more of the representation that the LUT is supposed to create. Now, again, I'm using the Ninja V. I'm not sure if this is perfect, but it gave me a better output. And the main thing is when you're using these as monitoring LUTs, your look is going to be really dialed in for the most part through your white balance, because off white balance is going to give you off tones, as it does with anything, but with these Creative LUTs, it's going to be more exacerbated, especially if you're using film bias with offset. So just keep that in mind. And this is also the plus side of shooting with Nikon RAW, because you can also leave your white balance as an afterthought, or you can set it in camera and then go ahead and change it later in post. Now, when it comes to using these as finishing LUTs, you guys know me, we're gonna be working in DaVinci Resolve. And there's a couple of ways that you can use these. We're gonna talk about just dropping them on the timeline if that's what your style is. We're gonna talk about using the DaVinci wide gamut in a non-color managed timeline. Then we're gonna be talking about using them with respect to color management as well. So, like I said, short and simple, if you are the type of person that does not care about your color management, which there are people out there, if you're just getting into this and you don't have time to learn the program, but you have DaVinci Resolve because you like shooting Nikon RAW, drag the LUT on and do your color grading before the LUT. It's that simple. Now, we're gonna talk about my two favorite methods on how we can use these LUTs. We're gonna go into our project settings. So that's gonna be File, Project Settings, Color Management. And first, we're gonna talk about a non-color managed timeline. So we're gonna leave DaVinci YRGB the same. We're gonna change our timeline color space to the DaVinci wide gamut. And then we're gonna change our output color space to Rec 709 and Gamma 2.4. Now, we need to use a little bit of a CST here to get us to where we need to be, and just follow along with my process. So we need to go from Nikon log into our timeline color space. So we're gonna start out with the CST, and our input color space is going to be Nikon log in Rec 2020, and then our output color space is going to be the DaVinci wide gamut and DaVinci intermediate. From there, you'd go ahead and create your standard node tree that you use, and then you're going to create a node after that, and we're going to have another CST. We're now gonna go from the DaVinci wide gamut back into Nikon log in Rec 2020. So the input color space is going to be DaVinci wide gamut, DaVinci intermediate, and the output is going to be Rec 2020 Nikon log. Now, in order to get Rec 709, we're going to use our LUT because this is the form of color management that we use with respect to the CST. So we're going to drag the LUT on, and now we are in Rec 709 Gamma 2.4. It's all about giving the LUT the input that it's expecting to get into Rec 709. And the input that it's expecting is going to be Nikon log, not the DaVinci wide gamut. But what this allows us to do is it allows us to make our adjustments before we go into Rec 709, and it allows us to make our adjustments in a unified wide gamut color space. Now, let's go ahead and talk about if we're going to use color management, like I like to do. So our project settings are as followed. It's going to be a DaVinci YRGB color managed timeline. We're going to untick automatic color management. We're going to select an HDR DaVinci wide gamut processing mode, and then our output is going to be into Rec 709. Now, what you're looking at is going to be a Rec 709 image, but let's really understand what's happening here. You have an input device transform and an output device transform, or you could call them CSTs, on this timeline that you cannot see. So DaVinci Resolve is already taking that Nikon log footage and it's converting it into the DaVinci wide gamut where you're working with all your nodes. And then what you can't see at the end, basically an invisible CST that's taking you from the DaVinci wide gamut into Rec 709. So the whole goal about using this LUT is giving everything the correct input it needs. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to create our node tree first, and make sure you do this before you do any color grading. You can add on to it later, but get the basis down, right? And then you're going to add another node and drop on a CST. Now, what is our LUT expecting? It's expecting Nikon log in Rec 2020, but currently on our timeline, we're in the DaVinci wide gamut. That lets us know what we need to do. So we're gonna go from the DaVinci wide gamut, DaVinci intermediate into Nikon log in Rec 2020. Then you can go ahead and create another node. Now this node is where you're going to drop on the LUT that you want to use. Now that you've done that, we have a input mismatch with the color space, right? That's why it's looking wonky. What is the input device transform that Resolve is expecting to take you into Rec 709? It's expecting the DaVinci wide gamut, but currently it's getting Rec 709. So we're gonna create another CST after the node, and we're gonna go from Rec 709 in Gamma 2.4, and we're gonna go into the DaVinci wide gamut and DaVinci intermediate. And boom, that is how you use your LUT in color management. With that, since we are talking about LUTs and we are talking about monitoring, I would like to bring up a couple of criticisms that I think could make all of this a lot better. Since we are currently limited to using external monitors to view LUTs, it would be awesome if we had a firmware update that eliminated the lag, or I should say the black screen that appears for about 4 to 5 seconds after you stop recording. This has been something that has been very consistent within my comments, and I know it doesn't bother me personally, but I can think of some situations where it would bother people, like shooting weddings. If you're shooting run and gun, that could be a moment that you miss by stopping a take and then trying to start it up again, but you're waiting for 5 seconds, and 5 seconds matters, and it doesn't have to happen. So being able to reduce that little blackout period, or actually not even reduce it, just straight up eliminating it through a firmware update would be awesome. The second thing is that there's a large group of people out here who do not use monitors. And so if they're not using a monitor, they are stuck with the View Assist feature on the Z8. And I'm gonna be honest, I love you, Nikon. I really do. But yeah, I can't work with that. I actually would rather monitor the log. And the reason is because in order to actually get a proper exposure with View Assist, I find myself actually overexposing the image by quite a bit. Otherwise, I feel like I'm either getting too dark in my shadow regions and then my skin tones get muddy, and I really don't like that. And so I tend to just look at the log and kind of guesstimate based off of my experiences what works. So how would we solve this whole View Assist thing, which I think a lot of people agree, the View Assist is not the best. It works in a pinch, but it's not the best, and it doesn't allow for consistency. It'd be really awesome to have a firmware update where we can upload our own LUTs to the Z8, or for a firmware update to come out, or I shouldn't say just the Z8, but any Nikon camera really, or to have a firmware update that comes out where these are included in all of the cameras that are able to shoot Nikon log and that these LUTs work with. And that would be a really awesome feature to have, and it would make things like run and gun content creation or vlogging or anything like that a lot easier for the end user. I know that when you take video seriously, you have a monitor, but the reality is that there's a lot of people that don't like shooting with a monitor. And in my mind, it seems like such a simple firmware update that would cater to a large group of people that love these products. With that, my beautiful people, that is it for today's video. If you liked it, be sure to give me a big thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, turn on those post notifications if you've not, leave me a comment down below about what you think, and follow me on social media. The links are in the description down below. Now more than ever, friends, if you're ever feeling uninspired, uncreative, or just want to give up on life, remember, every day airplanes take off against the wind. Keep climbing, stay inspired, and as always, stay fabulous. I'm Sydney. I'll see you beautiful people next time. Peace out.